Roll call. Tom Sims.
Ben Henderson.
Mike Drury.
Julie Chudnow.
Okay, we have a quorum. The first item is to accept the minutes from the 2/21 meeting. I guess one correction I have on item number 4 under new business is Mr. Henry had made this suggestion, and we actually the board supported that suggestion to form a group it was basically a combination of Holly McBrayer and then we also had an EDC member that they were meeting with. Dolly was going to meet with them also, and and I talked with him after the meeting, and he agreed to do that. So, but anyway, I just wanted to, so that information was all pulled together.
Okay.
Okay, any comments on the minutes?
I had a question about number 5 under the old business, or excuse me, new business, which is top of page 2. And where it says that she stated an amount of $5,000 be integrated into HPCA requests. Was it she who suggested that amount, or was it you?
It will. She's the one that she had met with. We both met with the group, with the club, and that was an amount that it was determined that we would need to carry for that event. It's really kind of their event, but we're proposing to support it. So we need to. But that's really under all the projects. It was listed under all the projects as one of the items under all the projects.
And then just at the bottom, it gives 2 different times that the meeting adjourned. I think it was the 6:43.
That was a check to be sure we're reading the minutes. Thank you. Okay.
Then I would move that the minutes be approved with the addition of the names of McBrayer and Dolly referenced in item 4 and the clarification of the ending time.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. The financials are not in the packet, so.
Mr. President, I'd like to apologize to you and the board and everyone present. The financials I could not present for this meeting. My computer caught a virus last Tuesday, had to put it out of its misery, and I got a new one yesterday, but it hasn't been inoculated yet. So I will present the February and March financials at the April meeting, if that's okay.
Okay. All right. So moved. The citizen participation, is there any citizen comments? Oh, just, okay. sometimes.
Everyone in Highland Park was invited by, Ms. Hall, will you come, you're calling me. Everyone was invited from Highland Park, from Brookdale, to come for bingo and refreshments from 6 to 7 on the 21st. Did any of y'all RSVP?
I didn't see it.
I don't remember seeing that.
Okay, well, I was just, because y'all are saying y'all want to build a bridge with businesses, well,
Yeah.
this one's definitely handing out the
Yeah.
friendship week. So
Yeah, good.
I was just wondering if y'all saw it.
Yeah, I did not see it myself. Did anyone see it?
No.
No.
I'm early on that.
Yeah. I'm on very periodic, but it's pretty periodic. It's just, it's too many missing cats that I don't have time for all the missing cats.
It's next Thursday.
Yeah,
The 21st, but we have our special meeting.
yeah.
So, you know, and I did call her and I explained to her that the council wouldn't be there because of that.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention. But I'm not available that night. I've got another event downtown that night, but let's see. So, old business, first item, update on the Voight Center ceiling fan replacement project and issues related thereto. Kelly can bring the good news on this item. It's all completed.
Ceiling fans are done, and on the list there, y'all had to separate the light switches. That's been done also. Did it at the same time.
Okay.
We came in way under budget. I don't have the exact cost in front of me, but if I remember correctly, I want to say it was around $4,000.
Okay,
Y'all allocated 10, so we were way under budget on that.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for taking care of that, and I look forward to seeing the new big fans. So,
I was gonna say the fans' name suits them. I've seen them. They're
yeah.
huge.
And these aren't officially they're not really that brand, but they're a big
Yes,
fan. They're not the big fan. But yeah.
So what we did is we went with a DC motor instead of an AC fan.
Yeah.
Draws less current.
Yeah.
They actually come with a remote control, so if you're sitting out on the deck, you can actually take a switch out there and be able to control the speed. Work fantastic, and they actually look really good. The electricians did a really good job on picking the right color.
Good.
So
Great.
we had nothing but good stuff to say about them.
Great. So they didn't go with those bright yellow ones, though?
Excuse me?
They didn't go with those bright yellow ones after?
No, we decided not to do that. Go that route.
Maybe next time. All right. Well, thanks for handling that. Appreciate
Yes, sir.
it. Any citizen comments on that haven't already been stated? Nope. Anybody else up here? Okay. Item number 2, update on creation of a Hollywood Park EDC email address for each EDC board member and issues related thereto. This is a Janice item.
Yes, sir. I checked with Rackspace to see how much the cost would be because they will be going up on their prices. So in March, and so it would be approximately. Right now, we pay about $75 to $76 a month with the entities that we already have listed. To add the EDC on there, that would put us for a total of $57, and so it would be $142 a month, and I could do it immediately.
Okay. Discussion?
And that 57 is for including all the members of the
Yes,
board?
it doesn't include just the employees that have email addresses, but of course the different computers and stuff, like the EDC, HP, I can't even speak, HP EDC website, that email address, it includes that, and then all of the equipment that we have here also. I mean, of course, we have one that says, the police department, their thing back there, it has to be connected to Rackspace, so that includes everything. All the employees and all of the equipment.
So one of the items that was brought up at the EDC conference in Austin was that if we're using personal websites or business websites, I mean email addresses for
Yes.
EDC business, and there was an EDC issue that came up that was involving some kind of a claim or whatever, it would make all of our email
Personal emails.
personal email would be subject to
Liable.
review at that time.
Right. That's why it is
And
best that you
so
have a separate.
that's really one of the main reason you would want to isolate your EDC communication
Exactly.
through an EDC email. And that kind of got my attention at that hearing. So personally, I think it's worth the funds to go ahead and get everyone with their, and to me ought to be a standard practice for EDC to offer an email address to each of the serving members at that time.
I would agree.
I agree as well. I'm just curious on the numbers, Janice. So you're saying the cost would increase by $57 a month because of the addition of EDC?
Yes, ma'am. Well, not just because of the addition of the EDC, but they are going from like $1 or something, an email address now to $248.
Oh, they're
Two
just
months.
changing it. Okay, I see.
So how much are you looking for EDC to participate then on that? It's $248 by the number of people on our board.
Right. I mean, it's $142 for total costs, or if you just wanted to put in the participation of the EDC, that would be $8 at $2.48.
Is there any citizen comment? Okay.
I'd love to see the EDC underwrite the entire cost. That's a generous gesture, but that's just I'm not a citizen. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Is that allowed, RD?
I don't even know.
Yes, because the EDC used to pay for the entire rack space account at one time.
I would caution the EDC on paying for the entirety of the city's email addresses and web space usages. At least right now, if I could find a needle, to say we can do it, then I'll be on full board with that. But for right now, if you guys would just approve your own internal email addresses and web pages, that's fine for you guys to do your own administrative expenses for this. So, but I could look into it for next meeting.
Okay, so you'll come back we'll go ahead and approve, or we can go ahead and approve so we can get our account set up, approve our personal use, or our board member use.
Correct. The board use for the email addresses and for web pages and any associated costs for those.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that the EDC go ahead and approve the funds to set up EDC-only email addresses and cover the cost.
Second.
I'd like to amend to say at $2.48 for eight seats at $2.48.
Second the addition to the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, item number 3 on old business, to update the list of projects and the
My email must be blocking your messages because I never received the list, and this has happened before. So it has, yeah.
I don't think I received the list either, Janice.
I will send it again tomorrow morning, and then I will check with each of you to see if you received it.
So do we want to table this discussion until next meeting, or do we want to just go through the list? Or do we want to table it till the end of the meeting and see next time?
I'd say almost table it to next meeting.
So you can study the list.
I was hoping to look at the digital copy, and yeah, it never.
Hey, Mr. President, a couple items on there have already been taken care of that y'all can actually scratch off. Number 26 and number 62.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll give it my best shot. So just so y'all know what you've got there, page 15 and 16 is a proposal from Southwest Sound for adding the power shades in the library like are on the front of the Voice Center, and then tying them into the control panel where everything's controlled from the control panel. Okay, that was proposal 1, and then proposal 2, which is pages 18 and 19, is the programming for the control panel. Right now, if someone rents the audiovisual center or the audiovisual, you either get all of it or none of it. And then on top of it, there's only one access code. So once you're given it, you've got it. And I've actually already had a couple incidents this year where people had rented it last year, used the AV, and then came back this year, rented again, didn't use AV, and I walk in and they've got the AV system running. So this new programming will give me control to be able to change passcodes, assign passcodes for a temporary amount of time for specific features. And then there's another one. Let me see. So page 21 and 22 is for the AMX control system. So what this is it's if we use the Crestron system, we actually have to, Southwest Sound has to get a hold of another vendor that is authorized to program the Crestron system. So anytime any program needs to be done, they've got to go through this person 2 or 3 weeks to get programming done. They recommended that we change to the AMX controller, that they can do programming on site immediately, and it gives us a little bit more control even over the programming of the Crestron. So there's 2 options there. We can go just to the Crestron and do the programming there, or we can add this other controller. We don't have to do the Crestron programming and do the programming with the AMX.
If I can interject.
Go ahead.
The AMX system is so much user-friendly than the Crestron system.
That's exactly what they told me. And that's why I asked them to put it in there. I mean, they came out here, and I apologize. I know you wanted to be there, but it was kind of a short notice. They came out there, and I said, look, guys, you guys are the expert. Y'all tell me how to make this work and put some numbers together for EDC. So, and then there's a whole bunch of specs on the AMX system there. It runs all the way to page 30, 32, 33. Okay. So then the next one is speaker system. So the problem we have is we have the speakers that are pointed straight down to the hard floor. And all the surfaces in there just bounce sound. So the acoustics are horrible. So what they recommended was putting speakers on the walls, on the beams of the walls that project the sound sideways instead up and down. And they actually brought a set in and set them up. And I'm deaf in my left ear, and my right ear is almost completely gone, and I could actually hear a difference in the sound. Sound quality was so much better. So they're recommending putting four columns in there of, I think there's 9 speakers in each column. They're going to be set up about 7 foot high and project the sound sideways. And the neat thing is they can actually tune those speakers so you could have speakers pointing different directions to help control the sound even better. So that's page 34 and 35, and then the specs behind it on page 36 through 40.
Kelly, did you say that?
No, sir, they will be mounted in the wall. Right. So it's going to be a column that's basically roughly 6 foot tall. So it's going to be, they're going to mount it at 7 foot, and it'll go up from there. But the sound will be going this way instead of this way. And what were you going to say?
I was going to say, do you also mention that they were going to adjust the speakers that are mounted now pointing down and have them?
They're going to try to do some adjustment on those. Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay.
Then on page 42 is some acoustic baffles. So we've got acoustic panels up already, and they wanted to add 24 more of the acoustic panels on the walls to absorb some more of the sound, to help cut down on the reverb. And then they brought in the wave acoustic panels. And I think that's what's on.
That's what's being proposed.
Yeah, page 42 and 43 is the wave panels. These actually hang from the ceiling, and my concern is it's going to change the aesthetics of the inside of the building. So I said, give us some numbers. I can give it to EDC. They can decide on that. So they were going to put in, and it's not 24. I'm sorry, it's 3 acoustic. No, it is 24. There's 8 to a case. So the acoustic panels are going to hang in between the iron beams from the ceiling hanging down to kind of, the way they explained it to me is it makes the room smaller. So sound isn't bouncing around up there, it's actually coming down lower. And page 46 and 47 is adding 10 additional acoustic panels on the wall. Excuse me?
28, I thought.
Is that what it is? I don't have an exact count.
I have to apologize because I'm very confused at this point.
Sure. No.
So, of the 6 different things, is the first one blinds for the library? And then 2 and...
Each one is... Mm-hmm. I had them give separate bids so y'all can pick and choose what y'all want to do.
And so then number 2 and 3, those are both security systems, and you would recommend we do one, not both,
You
right?
don't have to do both of them.
Okay.
You can do one or the other. The Crestron is what we have now.
Okay, and they're saying that
And it's
the other one is
reprogramming
better.
it is going to be X number of dollars.
Okay.
Or bringing in the AMX system. Still have to have the Crestron controller because all the equipment's Crestron, but the AMX is going to be the part that's programmed.
Okay. And then 4 is for upgraded speakers in addition to the speakers we have.
That is correct.
And then 5 and 6 are baffles or panels, but you wouldn't do both. It's one or the other.
The more you put in there, the more sound. Tom can speak on this probably better than I can. The more you put in there, the more sound it's going to absorb, the less reverb you're going to have.
But they're pretty much the same thing. They're just different, but they're trying to achieve the same thing.
They're doing the same thing. It's just a way to add more in there because we run out of wall space.
The one that's hanging from the ceiling, eliminating all that bounce up at the top, and the other ones are on the wall.
But they're trying to fix the same problem.
Yes, they complement each other. I just question how bad it's going to look.
That's my concern also.
I have a hunch that the hanging ones are going to be more effective, but they're also going to be less attractive. If I think of other examples of those being used.
Unfortunately, the way the building's designed, the type of material that's used, our options are not, that we don't have a lot of options. My recommendation is we do this kind of in stages. Let's put the new speaker systems in and maybe more acoustic panels on the walls and see what it does. It might become, the sound might be improved enough that we don't need to hang anything. We don't know that until we've got it done. Am I correct?
No, I agree with that.
I was going to suggest something similar where we just the speakers and then go down and really assess any of the panels.
Sure.
And then if we need to, then do the next one, which would be the wall panels, and then if that doesn't get it done,
Yeah.
but see if I think the biggest issue is the speaker system. And so if we get the speakers improved,
Uh-huh.
then you at least can start hearing what the
I think that's a very wise way to look at it.
so maybe we just start there and see is that enough?
What kind of events have had complaints about the acoustics? Is it the business events? Is it the party events?
Any kind of event where there is a speaker.
Where someone's talking?
It's even without amplification, a meeting of a group of 10 people at a round table.
I had trouble at our
Yeah.
round table, yeah.
And the reverb is such that folks with certain types of hearing aids, they get feedback. I could hear them in the group. It was a code committee meeting, and to the members, they were getting echo. No, and that's without a mic. That's just people sitting there. So I think the speakers, the direction of the speakers will help when that's being used. But I do think some acoustical panels will end up being wanted for sure. Are they the same panels?
The panels they're going to put on the wall are going to be almost identical to what's up there. It might be a little bit different shape because we got some narrow areas to put stuff. And right now we've got, I think they're 4x4 panels. Mm-hmm. So there's some areas they'll be able to put 4x4s up there, but there's some other areas where they might only be able to go, 4 foot wide and 3 foot tall to make it look good.
Is this the same company that did all the current speakers and sound system?
Yes, ma'am.
So how come we're having so many issues with things that aren't that old?
Where the issues aren't from what that was installed, the issues are from what was requested. They put in what the architect told them to put in. And I do also have to add that it's actually that Southwest Sound is under new management. The old owner has since retired, so they seem to be a whole lot more responsive and eager to take care of us. They've actually worked on the stuff here for Janice also.
I think that's a really good question, because if it really was a design-build aspect of that project, then how these proposals would be handled would be different. I think it's worth some research with the architect of the other project.
I'm having a real hard time hearing you.
I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button. I think it's worth some research with the architect that did the project, and I can call Gabe and confirm.
Sure.
Was this a design build aspect of that project, or was it in fact specified by their MEP engineers?
Okay.
And so I'm predicting that it was a design build component of the project, which really puts the original design on Southwest. And if that's the case, then there ought to be some of this would be corrective. And so I think it's worth researching it a little bit, regardless of what the ownership was.
Okay.
It's the same company.
No,
And just, follow that trap.
Sure.
So. Go down and look at the space and look at the panels. Okay, any citizen comments? More discussion up here? Okay. I don't know. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I think the acoustics are so bad down there, and it's not just when they're using the speakers, like y'all said.
Yeah.
So I would like to see y'all go ahead and start with something other than just the speakers, maybe more the panels or whatever, whatever y'all say. But it's not just when the speakers are going on. They're just acoustics are awful.
But if we don't know whether it was their responsibility at the beginning of the process or whether they were just acting on someone else's responsibility, I think we need to assess that. Because if it was their responsibility, how this is handled by just approving this proposal isn't maybe the right way to handle it. Something needs to happen, but it may be corrective, or is it warranty, or is it, something like that. So we need to kind of look at the contract, talk to some of the construction team on that project, and find out how it was handled. So.
My only concern, having been in the business, if they designed it and put it in and the city signed off on it, then the city owns it. If you came back to me and said, well, you didn't design it right or you didn't do it right, I'd be, yeah, but you approved it.
I hear you, but the city's not acoustical, and if they're the ones that were designed, that were engaged and paid or whatever to be, I don't know if they were paid a fee to design this system. That's what I'm trying to find out.
And that's important to
know.
Did the architect say, this is what we want?
Yeah.
And they say, okay.
Yeah.
So the initial contact needs to be made with Gabe and the architects to get clarification on the role that the sound system engineer played in the design. Is that?
Yeah, and it may be that they proposed something way more elaborate than got put in, and the budget didn't let it happen. If that's the way it played, then that's pretty clean, and we need to propose and buy more system. But if they were engaged and paid to design a system for that building as a consultant, and it didn't play out well, then they need to be part of the solution also. I'm not saying we don't need to be paying something, but they need to be part of the solution. If they were engaged to make a system work down there, especially as bad as it is. If they really designed that system and that's the best they could do at that time, that's a problem.
That would be a question we could ask of Gabe.
Yeah, Gabe and Neugebauer and some of the other people involved. So I think we can table it for 1 month and just do a little research and come back. But I agree that it's an issue that needs to get solved very soon. So. So the next item, number 2, under new business, discuss take possible action on potential projects involving the Hollywood Park Community Association and issues related thereto, including and taking possible action to approve 2 resolutions of the 2019 Hollywood Park EDC and Hollywood Park Community Association Golf Tournament Project, and the 2019 Hollywood Park EDC and Hollywood Park Community Association's National Night Out Project. So really, Artie, you're going to really have to speak to this because that was kind of done subcommittee. Brian said at the last meeting that he proposed that he would go away, work with Holly and Justin to come up with to confirm the list of projects. And did they come back? These are the only two?
Yeah, and we did, and I did speak with Holly over the phone, and what we did was, I think we identified there's a couple of different projects that the community association is interested in, and of those, only a few of them have an EDC purpose, and of those, there was a few that had a little bit more priority than others. So what I did was I picked those two, and which are these two, because they have a little bit more of a time, they're a little bit more time sensitive, and we discussed what would be required for either party, and I kind of distilled those both into resolutions, and that's the two resolutions that you have here. And also I drafted some two different contracts, which would basically be what we talked about, the understandings between what the EDC would have the community association do and what the community association would have the EDC do, and kind of getting that moved forward. And you have both of those here. So as far as these two projects, this is what we came up with. We're open to changing some things around if the board wants to see those things change, or if Holly needs a little bit of change in there, we could move some things around, but I think this is kind of a good fit for the board. And then for the other projects, as they're coming down, we can discuss those, and we can do kind of similar things and kind of keep the year going. Do you guys have any questions about either of the resolutions or either of the projects? So basically what would need to happen from the board today would be that you would have to approve, if you were to move forward with both of these, to approve both of the projects and then to approve both of the resolutions. And that would then give the president authority to enter into the contracts with the community association and move forward on those.
Okay.
If you want.
So the first one is the golf tournament.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On the statement where it says, the funds should be utilized providing by the HPEDC for sole and express purposes and supplementing resources for the golf tournament, is there going to be a documentation of that, or how is that going to be verified?
Where are you reading that?
Page number 51.
51.
1.01. I 1.01.
Oh, when's the resolution? When is it?
Page 50.
We could put a requirement that there's some documentation, but is there something that you would need for the finance group?
Well, no, I mean, a lot of times the finance person does verify that, and all it would be is receipts turned over to do it. I just wanted to make sure if that's the way it was going to go, or if somebody else was going to do it, or what. The best way is if the money's spent, the receipts are kept, and just go through them and look at them and make sure that it's in what the board wanted and what they gave the money for.
Well, I think Holly usually, I don't know, Holly, when you do your receipts, Jeff was asking, you send them to Mr. Drew, or you send them straight to Jack?
I'm sorry, what was the question? I sent it to.
Your receipts you pay for your events and so forth.
I did an itemized list and then attached them and then gave them to you. And then you got him to sign the check, and then
That's where money came from before.
for last year, National Night Out is an event that they had sponsored last year. Yeah.
So we could amend and you're talking about the contract here. So we could amend the contract to actually have that in there. But if you need,
they actually do it. So
they do it. Okay.
On page 51, it says the word gold instead of golf.
Where do you see that? I see it. I see it. Thank you. It'll be good to have a gold tournament.
So Holly, you didn't know what you were getting into.
I figured it came quick and figured it out, and we had a long discussion, and it made sense. And
Yeah.
let's go with these two projects because we obviously the golf tournament we got to get rolling on getting the sponsorships and members the forms out, and we've locked the date and just getting things started. So committing to these two events and adding them to our calendar, or supporting them and keeping them on our calendar and knowing that we have funding for them is good. Connecting them to other events gets complicated. We as a board are nervous, backlash from community, whatnot. So I came up with a different plan, and then going to work with him about that, about educating the businesses about who we are and how we can connect and what we offer as an association. And so having y'all fund that type of thing of how they can connect to the community and how they can give back, how, talking with Janice about Business of the Month and getting in the Sparks and doing an article and stuff like that, tying them in that way separately. The hard part is manpower. We work for free, finding someone to tackle this project. So maybe in 2020, having a person on the board that represents the EDC and businesses and focus on that angle instead of the community projects, and tying it in that way to bind the gap that in having the EDC connect with a board member of you guys and then my board member, and then they come up with projects of focusing on businesses and then tying the community back in. Because right now we have a community event we're trying to tie the businesses to, and it's getting complicated, and it's self-sufficient, and we're good we're good. We don't technically need the help on these events. So coming up with a different list of how to tie the businesses, then asking the community.
I think it's fair to ask for a board liaison on each specific project.
Yeah.
So that it would probably be a different person, but we can assign someone
Yes.
within this board to be the liaison for that project, and that's really what we're here for. Is
Correct, and it's just preparing the board and the conversation of finding someone that wants to join the board that coordinates with businesses and the EDC to come up with plans to support the needs of the businesses of Hollywood Park. Right now, our calendar's full, and we've got money, and we've got a really good momentum going, and we are kind of hesitant on a backlash of people saying you're using money to throw a party. So we need to backtrack and focus business and then to community and how we can tie it, be it, having an open house at Starbucks and them offering free coffee for an hour and then telling our community, hey, they're offering free coffee, and then having them communicate that way and focusing on businesses through the city and the Sparks and educating of who our businesses are to the community. And that was the plan, and discussing with him and focusing on what we feel comfortable of what makes sense for the money that the EDC is able to use for business purposes.
okay. So you're good with these two resolution items?
I haven't. This is the first time I've seen them, but this is the same as National Night Out, and so I feel like everything should be up to speed, and if you guys are good, but it's the same idea of providing.
Let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. National Night Out, didn't you give me, and I wrote a check or
Yep.
what? Okay. That's not what this says. I'm going to be giving you $5,500 30 days when these are done. Okay?
So after the event, I used.
No.
Oh.
30 days from when these resolutions, this is what this says, are passed, I'm handing you $5,500.
Oh, and then we
okay?
use them for the events, and then okay,
Bring it to me afterwards.
okay, that works. An itemized list after the fact. Okay.
So before we were doing it to where this was an amount that you were holding in escrow for that account that she was going to draw against.
What we would do is she brought in the expenses, and we wrote a check. Either way is fine, but these read that will be done, so it can go that way.
It's nice to have it this way because I'm not carrying personally a cost of $1,100. That's what the cost was last
That's
year.
what I had to pay her because she spent the money.
And I was carrying it.
And this way, it's sitting and it's fine. It's there. She's accountable for it, but she just brings me the receipts after. And if they don't spend the full amount of money, she will bring it back.
Correct.
Yeah,
So-
Does
along,
that sound acceptable?
well, along that line of spending or just knowing how the money was spent, I was going to suggest that there be some type of a report or follow-up after these events. back
And
to
I
the
think I
EDC.
had given you the receipts and then asked if I needed to come back and talk about how the event went and discuss it. And there was no need. You're good. It was a great event. We enjoyed ourselves. Thanks. And we didn't spend the full amount. We spent $1,200. And so, but I'm happy to come back and talk about the event, show pictures, and educate of where the dollars went. And so you have that.
She gives an actual report that has every expenditure on it and what it is with the receipts attached on it. That I will go through and I will bring it back so you can look at it or take the front page and say, I'll make sure that it's what it's supposed to be on the front
I think
page.
you sit in enough meetings. I mean, the truth of the matter is, and I think as long as your accounting is, I think that Jeff can bring your accounting to the, I mean, you're welcome to.
Okay.
But if he brings the accounting and everybody sees that the accounting and just tell him it went great, or send us an email.
I'm happy to come and do my smiley face and be so excited because the events are fantastic and to show pictures and discuss it. I get so jazzed up because these events are fantastic. And this one, National Night Out, is one of my favorites. I'm not really sure why, but the vibe is so awesome. So it's one of my faves.
Plan on a report then.
Okay,
I'm just
yeah,
trying to give-
I'm good.
giving you
I'm
an
good.
And I'm not suggesting an accounting
No,
report,
but
a
recap.
progress report or
What
results.
worked, what didn't work, what we
'Cause you may
thought,
want
the
to tweak
growth
it.
of it.
You may want to do something different the next time or ask for more money.
Yeah.
So we'd just like to hear how it goes.
That sounds like a plan. I think postcards don't work as well as mail letters with envelopes because we try to do it in an inexpensive way. Postcards get lost, they get stuck together. So to have an actual envelope and then have another follow-up be a postcard. So yes, I do have a game plan different from last year, having the fund and knowing that we have a little bit of wiggle room. Yes, I agree. I'm happy to do that. Give a report of what worked, didn't work, and the growth that we'll do for next year.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Any citizen comment?
Can I
Any
include?
more board discussion?
Can I include one other thing? So you have in front of you two resolutions and you have two contracts. So the only thing that needs to be passed today, if you so choose, are the two resolutions. And what the two resolutions, one is for the golf tournament and one is for the National Night Out. Both of those authorize the president or one of his designees to enter into the contract with the HPCA. So none of those have to be signed today. And we can further negotiate those terms, and we could input some of these terms regarding the reporting and regarding the expenditures as they go forward. But the way I wrote out the resolutions is, I think, a way that made sense to Holly and her group to give her the funds up front once these contracts are signed for these specific purposes. And I think the idea of reporting at the back end that Mr. Henderson said is a great idea to make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, to make sure all the funds are spent for this particular purpose. So those are the four documents you have in front of you. The two need to be discussed. The other two are ongoing documents that will eventually need to be signed.
Okay. And was Justin in all these discussions in the resolution development?
Justin was in none of the discussions.
It was an easy conversation on the phone with the attorney of how we felt as an association, the board, and my discussion that we had after the meeting, talking about this opportunity, discussing with him some of our hesitation, and then figuring out this is the best way to go, National Night Out. And so it wasn't really need to go through all the list of what we thought we could tie into and just focus on these and then focus on 2020 of really, like I had mentioned. So Justin wasn't needed in that discussion. It was just a simple conversation.
He was there on the projects and the project isolating it to these two projects versus the 7 or 8 that we had on the previous list. Yeah, I mean, that he was in on that discussion.
No.
Well,
He was CC'd on everything.
right. When we discussed it over the
Yeah.
phone, I really didn't know Justin was. I don't really know what Justin was
Henry.
talking about.
Yeah, Ryan said he wanted to meet with Justin.
Okay.
Justin, he wanted to meet with a board member and with you.
Right.
as-
To have a
together.
contact, yeah.
And so we got Justin
Okay.
notified so that he would be part of this.
And he was CC'd on the emails, and then he did a quick call to say, hey, wait a minute.
We have a Ryan Henry Artie Delta here, because Ryan was pointing this thing in one direction and you handle it a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, if he was supposed to be in on these conversations, I apologize. I didn't know. I figured we would. What we did talk about was what was the priority, and to hit the priority first, and then continue the discussions as the year went on.
Yep.
Right.
Because I needed to get this ball rolling.
What I really want to do is get everything all in one bundle and get everything done.
But is your board hesitating some and wanting to dip our toe and test it out? That's what I'm hearing.
Yes, we're just wanting to make sure that there's no backlash from the community of how we're using the EDC funds, and that we're good stewards of the handout, not the handout, but the partnership that we have.
So it sounds like starting small might be just the smart way to
Yes,
go. Yeah.
because we are, like I said, my calendar's full.
Which is what you're suggesting.
Yes,
So, uh-huh.
yes, and so our calendar's full, and so to take on this huge project, we're hesitant, we're tired, you know what I mean? So it's like we need to do just what we can commit to, start out small, and then
I think a golf
ramp up.
tournament's nice and small. That's good. Thank you for
It's a new one. It's a new one for us, a new golf tournament we've never done before. So it is a big commitment. And then half the board looked at me like, so you're handling it? And I'm like, yeah, handling it. So a lot of the board, is like, our calendar's tight. We don't need to add anymore. But I want to do this. So for me to take it on, I do have two other ladies that are going to help with sponsorships. But yes, starting out small and then see how the community feels about this, because there's nothing worse than hitting the street. Rumors and speculation that we're throwing parties on the EDC money and how unfair is that, and to make sure that it is well received by the community, that we are receiving a partnership with you guys, and then how we handle it for the future to make sure we focus on the business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So any more discussion or any discussion?
I have a question.
Okay.
On the sheet here, when we did the meetup group, hold on, I gotta get my glasses back on number 13, one of the things that was talked about was the margarita machine, asking y'all to get it, cost about $4,000. Would that be part of going with those two projects where they would serve margaritas or anything with the golf tournament?
We haven't really addressed this list of items, other than these two items are the only items that are really generally, this list hasn't really been addressed yet. But thank you for asking that. Okay. Thoughts?
Someone needs to propose the acceptance of these two.
Yeah, I think let's just take them one at a time, do the golf one first.
Okay. I would make a motion that the proposed project to support the HPCA in their golf tournament with a financial amount not to exceed $3,000 be considered as written.
And it's really it's a combined tournament. It's not, you said their tournament, it's really our tournament together with them, so.
Okay.
So.
Second.
I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I'm sitting there, I was waiting for a second, you were the second. All right, the next resolution regarding the National Night Out project.
Mr. Drury, can I just clarify one matter? The motion that was just made, was that the motion to approve the resolution for the 2019 golf tournament?
Yes.
Okay.
It was to approve the funding for that golf tournament.
Okay, it wasn't
This resolution.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
motion for the National Night Out resolution?
Motion to approve the resolution as written for EDC National Night Out.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, thank you, Holly. Appreciate that. Look forward to seeing how these go and many more to go, and all the many that we're going to pile on in the future. So.
And attached in your packets are the accompanying contracts that we're negotiating essentially. If there's any other requirements that you want to include in there, we can discuss that further, and then that would be up to the EDC president or his designee to sign, which he now has approval for. So, and then that will finalize the actual transfer of funds.
Is there a time limit on their counselor for the agreements to be signed?
Approved? Not really, but I would say as soon as they need funds would be a good time to start closing this stuff up.
Okay, so
I don't see it.
At this point, 'cause we're just getting sponsorships and getting, the word out and the forms out, stuff like that. We're not purchasing anything, so we do have time to look at things.
Right.
As long as I have the approval to start rolling the ball, I'm gonna have someone to pay for my.
The comment I do want to make is, do we have a good list of businesses with email addresses and phone numbers yet?
At the last meeting, I handed out the list of all the businesses and so forth. That's the last updated list that we have. And we received that from Tim Zelenek, who does all the inspections of the businesses. And that's the last updated list we have. And he did that like about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, but there's no like email addresses. It's the phone numbers at this point.
It's difficult to get phone numbers. Nobody wants to give a phone number. Sometimes they don't have
Okay.
an email address, so it's strictly as best that we can do. A lot of them have websites, and so sometimes you'll get information on that. But I'll give you an updated list as I have, Holly, on that kind of stuff. You probably have one too. Okay.
I would.
That was the plan in the future, is to have someone that builds a database for them and incorporates them, educates them, and having stuff in the flyer and marketing, kind of where they open it up and they see what we're offering and how they can tie in. But yes, that was a plan to make sure we start digging in and find out who would help, who's the leader of the people. Yes.
Who has the? Do you have a list of the players from our first tournament?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you could give that to her.
But
Because
this is
we had
really-
businesses
but this-
participate,
But
yeah.
this tournament is really citizens and businesses, not
So,
real.
so I'll send the
It's not
businesses
another
that
realtor
participated.
tournament. It's a
Yeah.
citizen and resident.
And the
I mean,
businesses.
citizen and businesses, so.
Yeah.
So
Well, but
the
it could-
focus of the
it could
tournament's
be-
a little different.
It could be some real estate people.
Yeah, there can be, but it's, the focus is to fill it with our
I hope
citizens
you don't
and
exclude me from the
No,
tournament.
you're a citizen.
I'm both. So,
But I'm saying it's a different focus on this tournament.
yeah, I realize, but those who are doing business in the community, I think, was the tie-in that we had for doing the first tournament to begin with. And there are some who really enjoyed it. I know they'll return if we invite them back a second time.
We may do another EDC business EDC Realtor tournament if we, yeah.
I think if you're looking at the list and some of the date, it's possible to tie them in and that we're opening it to everybody.
Yeah.
To fill the seats. They're paying their own green fees. It's basically, we're entertaining them out on the golf course. We're adding a little bit of pizzazz. The businesses are adding that type of idea, and the groups for Hollywood Park community, from the animals to the Parks Department. I was going to talk to Kelly about setting up, to educate as the community goes through who our people are as the codes committee, the tree if they want to set up, or the people that want to educate on water, and then having businesses as long as so realtors would benefit for any of that, and they're paying their own fees. It's just to see the number that you had, and then where we are with the head count, how big it's going to get. But we know it opened over half for us. You know what I mean? So they open another set of holes if we get.
Yeah, they can open a whole nother course.
I don't mind offering everybody that came last year and making an annual
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let them spread the word how cool we are.
Are your maximum capacity is 72 players?
They gave
Or-
us one for the first 9, and I don't have my notes with me.
It's actually.
They can host like 450 people, something crazy.
Oh, that is a lot.
And they have so many for the 9 for the scramble, and then they can open another set of holes that they they
I
are
see.
prepared depending on our RSV list, because they're pre-paying before they come.
Do you think that we should do like either a business journal or a city newspaper announcement of this event?
For the Sparks?
I know we have our city of Hollywood Park, but should we announce it within the city of San Antonio? Should we go get some PR for Hollywood Park on this event?
Yes.
Once we get it announced locally and get it, at some point, do we do an article with the Business Journal about this tournament and talk about how cool our town is and all that stuff?
I'm happy to have a discussion. I like it.
Yeah.
And wrap my mind around it. But yes, obviously,
Okay.
letting people know how cool we are in any capacity,
Yeah.
I love to spread the news.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Let's see. So that's. I lost my back page of my. Oh, there it is. Okay. So the next item is the. So already on that one, does anyone have any comments on the contracts? Are everybody okay with the contracts? Okay, we don't need to approve them, but I'm going to sign through the contracts as they're written, unless somebody tells me they want something different. So, okay, the next item is the presentation discussed with the San Antonio Weddings representative regarding the Voight Center, and this is Mayor Murphy.
I don't have anything to share on this topic with the group tonight. In my conversations with Todd Cabes, it seemed like his arrangement may be more appropriate just as something to approach council with, because it's not something he's asking for money for. It's just a different concept of how we might manage the Voight Center. So I was going to try to include him in our March meeting, but they had a schedule conflict, so we are pushed back till April. But if the council likes the concept and want to go forward, then they might reach out. We might reach out to EDC for support in helping promote the Voight Center through that arrangement. But it was kind of backwards.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's kind of what I thought as well. So
okay.
That's good. So the item number 4. So we're just going to drop that off of future agendas then. So item number 4 is discuss take possible additional projects for future agendas and resolutions. Does anyone have anything else? Okay. Any other citizen comments? Okay, then we're adjourned. Thank y'all. Any signatures on those? These are the resolutions. Do you want on the agreements too?
I don't know why I keep falling on the I don't think I ever got this.
What is this date today?
Today is the 14th.
14th.
Thank you. I don't know why it's blocking
I
it.
have no idea. We'll check it. We'll make sure.
Thank you. It's probably something on my end.
And you sure you don't want me to go ahead and sign the contracts? Why don't I go ahead and sign them?
You want to go ahead and do those?
Yeah. And then, yeah. And Holly's here. We can get her to sign it, then we're done.
Okay, Mike, see you next time.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mike, who's going to reach out to the architect? Who's going to do that? Reach out to the architect, see about the sound system?
I'll call him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll call him, and then what I'll do is what I'd like to do is go down there and look around, and I'll call you on that. So, yeah, I've got your information, so I'll give you a call before I go down there.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll give you some notice. So, all right, great, thanks.
I'm not working anymore, so.
Oh, good.
I'm available.
Oh, good. All right.
There's one or two things I wanted to add to one of the contracts.
Okay.
Well, one, I think it's really just the date. Because I didn't really know what the date was, so I don't want to do a contract for it. An event that doesn't exist.
So,
It might even be available. So we could just write it in, and that will
okay,
that'll
well,
be good.
these are, here's the two contracts. This is one of them. And the rest of the contract is, I think that's the beginning of it. So what do you want me to, right here?
I just need a date of the tournament.
Oh, she has to get, yeah.